All right. Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. You know how it is. Sometimes you're cruising along in English and bam, you hit a grammar roadblock.
Or you try to say something and it comes out like word salad.
Exactly. And it happens to the best of us, whether you're a native speaker or learning English as a second language. But, instead of just brushing these slip-ups under the rug, we thought, why not embrace them? So we've got a whole bunch of sources lined up here, ready to expose those common English language pitfalls that trip us all up.
And the cool thing is these mistakes can actually teach us a lot about how the language works.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. The sources kick things off with some grammar gaffes. And one that always makes me chuckle is the good old subject-verb agreement issue. Like, she goes to school every day. Why is this one such a persistent problem?
Well, think about it. A lot of languages out there don't change their verbs based on whether the subject is singular or plural. So for someone learning English, it's this extra layer of complexity they have to wrap their heads around. It's almost like having to switch tools depending on the size of the nail you're hammering.
That's a great analogy. And while we're talking tools, I have to confess, I still get tripped up by much versus many. Our sources give the example, I have much friends. Oof, that hurts my ears.
I know, right? But it's a common mistake. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine much is like a big blob of water.
All right.
You can't count individual drops, can you? So we use much for uncountable nouns like advice, water, love, but many. Now that's for things we can count, like those awesome friends you were talking about.
Gotcha. Separate compartments in the toolbox for much and many. Now, what about this one? Your versus your. I see this one massacred online all the time.
Oh, I know. It's everywhere.
And it seems like such a basic error. What's the deal?
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But it just goes to show how important that little apostrophe is. Because that little guy's telling you, hey, we're dealing with contraction here. Two words squished together, you are.
Right. Apostrophes. Small but powerful. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Move from grammar gaffes over to pronunciation perils. Our sources point out the classic TH versus S confusion. Why do learners tend to say sink instead of think?
Well, in many cases, their first language might have a sound that's kind of close to TH, but it doesn't involve putting your tongue between your teeth.
Right.
And that specific tongue placement, that can be a real challenge to master.
It's like a secret handshake, but for your tongue.
Exactly.
And then there's the V and W swap, very turning into wary.
Oh, yeah. Another tricky one. For V, you got to get that top teeth gently touching your bottom lip. It's all about creating the right airflow. Subtle mouth maneuvers.
Speaking of subtle, our sources also mention those silent letter landmines that are lurking all over English spelling.
Oh, yes. The notorious silent letters.
Yeah. Like that sneaky K in night. Why are those even there?
Well, English loves to hold on to its history. Those silent letters are like echoes from the past, remnants of older pronunciations that have hung around to make spelling a bit of a head-scratcher.
It's like the language is playing a little trick on us. So we've covered some pretty big grammar snags and pronunciation hurdles, but the sources make it clear this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, absolutely. Just scratching the surface here. I mean, English is bursting with idioms, slang, and all these constantly shifting norms. It's like a living, breathing thing, always changing and evolving.
Which I guess is what makes it so frustratingly fascinating to learn.
You got it.
But okay, that brings us to a really interesting question. If we go beyond the basics, what are some of those other aspects of English that still trip people up, even those who are pretty fluent?
Idioms are a big one. They're notorious for not meaning what they literally say. Like, telling someone to break a leg before a performance.
Yeah.
If you take that literally, it's pretty terrifying. And then there's slang, which is always changing, always evolving. It's like, what's cool today could be cringe tomorrow, driven by pop culture and all that.
It's true. Language is never static, which is what makes it so exciting, I think. Yeah. So really, the main takeaway here is that mastering English isn't about reaching some kind of final destination. It's an ongoing journey full of exploration, discovery, and sometimes a few stumbles along the way.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to our listeners out there, remember those grammar blunders and pronunciation slip-ups, they're not failures, they're stepping stones. Every mistake is a chance to learn and grow.
Beautifully put.
And as you continue on your language journey, here's something to think about. With technology breaking down geographical barriers, how do you think English will evolve in the future?
That's a good one.
Will we see dialects merging together, a surge of new slang, or maybe even, who knows, the emergence of completely new grammatical structures? The possibilities are endless. The world of language is out there waiting to be explored.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time.
Happy exploring.